FM, the General Overseas Service of All India Radio, presents readings from an autobiography or the story of my experiments with truth. The reading from the autobiography is presented by Sri Gopalkrishna Gandhi, writer, teacher, and the youngest grandson of Kasturba Gandhi and Mohan Karamchand Gandhi. The words of the Mahatma in the voice of his grandson.
I have a fair recollection of the Eiffel Tower as I ascended it twice or thrice. I must say a word about the Eiffel Tower. I do not know what purpose it serves today. There is no art about the Eiffel Tower. In no way can it be said to have contributed to the real beauty of the exhibition. Men flocked to see it and ascended it as it was a novelty and of unique dimensions. It was the toy of the exhibition. So long as we are children, we are attracted by toys, and the tower was a good demonstration of the fact that we are all children attracted by trinkets that may be claimed to be the purpose served by the Eiffel Tower. I passed my examinations and was called to the bar on the 10th of June 1891 and enrolled in the High Court on the 11th, and on the 12th I sailed for home. But I did not feel myself qualified to practice law. I have already said that when I went to England, I possessed a note of introduction to Dadabhai Nauroji. I availed myself of it very late. I thought I had no right to trouble such a great man for an interview. Whenever an address by him was announced, I would attend it, listen to him from a corner of the hall, and go away after having feasted my eyes and ears. In order to come in close touch with the students, he had founded an association. I used to attend its meetings and rejoiced at Dadabhai's solicitude for the students and the latter's respect for him. In course of time, I mustered up courage to present to him the note of introduction. He said, "You can come and I have my advice to give you whenever you like." But I never availed myself of his offer. I thought it wrong to trouble him without the most pressing necessity. Mr. Frederick Pincott was a conservative, but his affection for Indian students was pure and unselfish. Many students sought his advice, and I also applied to him for an appointment which he granted. I can never forget that interview. He said, "It takes no unusual skill to be an ordinary lawyer. Common honesty and industry are enough to enable him to make a living. All cases are not complicated." He said, "I understand your trouble. Your general reading is meager. You have no knowledge of the world, a sine qua non for a vakil. A vakil should know human nature. He should be able to read a man's character from his face." Mr. Pincott's advice did me very little direct service, but his kindliness stood me in good stead. I trusted his advice that acumen, memory, and ability were not essential to the making of a successful lawyer. Honesty and industry were enough. With just a little leaven of hope mixed with my despair, I landed at Bombay from SS Assam. The sea was rough in the harbour, and I had to reach the quay in a launch. My elder brother had come to meet me at the dock. I was pining to see my mother. My brother had kept me ignorant of her death, which took place whilst I was still in England. He wanted to spare me the blow in a foreign land. The news, however, was nonetheless a severe shock to me, but I must not dwell upon it. My grief was even greater than over my father's death. Most of my cherished hopes were shattered, but I remember that I did not give myself up to any wild expression of grief. I could even check the tears and took to life just as though nothing had happened. The poet Rayachandra or Rajachandra, the son-in-law of an elder brother of Dr. Mehta and partner of the firm of jewelers conducted in the name of Reva Shankar Jagjeevan, was not above 25 then, but my first meeting with him convinced me that he was a man of great character and learning. He was also a Shatavadhani, one having the faculty of remembering or attending to 100 things simultaneously. I had exhausted my vocabulary of all the European tongues I knew and asked the poet to repeat the words. He did so in the precise order in which I had given them. I envied his gift without, however, coming under its spell. The thing that did cast its spell over me, I came to know afterwards. This was his wide knowledge of the scriptures, his spotless character, and his burning passion for self-realization. I saw later that this last was the only thing for which he lived. Raichand Bhai's commercial transactions covered hundreds of thousands. He was a connoisseur of pearls and diamonds. No naughty business problem was too difficult for him. But all these things were not the center around which his life revolved. That center was the passion to see God face to face. Amongst the things on his business table, there were invariably to be found some religious book and his diary. The moment he finished his business, he opened the religious book or the diary. I was but a briefless barrister then, and yet whenever I saw him, he would engage me in conversation of a seriously religious nature. Though I was then groping and could not be said to have any serious interest in religious discussion, still I found his talk of absorbing interest. I have since met many a religious leader or teacher. I have tried to meet the heads of various faiths, and I must say that no one else has ever made on me the impression that Raichand Bhai did. His words went straight home to me. And yet, in spite of this regard for him, I could not enthrone him in my heart as my guru. The throne has remained vacant. 3 moderns have left a deep impress on my life and captivated me. Raichand Bhai by his living contact, Tolstoy by his book The Kingdom of God is Within You, and Ruskin by his Unto This Last. Friends advised me to go to Bombay for some time in order to gain experience of the High Court, to study Indian law, and to try to get what briefs I could. I took up the suggestion and went. But I had not the courage to conduct a case. I was helpless beyond words, and even as the bride come fresh to her father-in-law's house. About this time, I took up the case of one Mami Bai. It was a small cause. You will have to pay some commission to the tout, I was told. I emphatically declined. But even that great criminal lawyer, Mr. So-and-so, who makes 3,000 to 4,000 a month, pays commission. I do not need to emulate him, I rejoined. I should be content with rupees 300 a month. Father did not get more. But those days are gone. Expenses in Bombay have gone up frightfully. You must be businesslike. I was adamant. I gave no commission, but got Mami Bai's case all the same. It was an easy case. I charged 30 rupees for my fees. The case was not likely to last longer than a day. This was my debut in the small causes court. I appeared for the defendant and had thus to cross-examine the plaintiff's witnesses. I stood up, but my heart sank into my boots. My head was reeling, and I felt as though the whole court was doing likewise. I could think of no question to ask. The judge must have laughed, and the vakils, no doubt, enjoyed the spectacle. But I was past seeing anything. I sat down and told the agent that I could not conduct the case, and that he had better engage Patel and have the fee back from me. Mr. Patel was duly engaged for 51 rupees. To him, of course, the case was child's play.
You just heard the reading from the Autobiography of Mahatma Gandhi, presented by Shri Gopalkrishna Gandhi, the youngest grandson of Kasturba Gandhi and Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi.